At Manhattan University, a graduate degree is not out of reach. You'll gain real-world skills, credentials employers value, and connections to New York City's top companies. Choose from their new Master of Science degrees in healthcare informatics, digital marketing and analytics, business analytics, or financial analytics, all built around hands-on learning and industry partnerships. Graduate ready to lead, not just work. Take the next step at manhattan.edu/graduate. Manhattan University. Lead the future.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi!
Okay, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Well, good morning. Good Sunday to you. This is Sean Spicer. I am honored to be joining the WABC family. Thanks to John for that amazing introduction. He's been carrying that. I mean, what a leader. It's so hard to follow a guy like John. This guy has been up. If you've been listening to WABC to get the latest, you have not been disappointed. The guy has worked his tail off all morning long, and it's tough to grab the torch from a guy like that and say, hey, I'll do the next little bit. He is an honor to be associated with. What a team here at WABC. Thank you for all of this. I'm excited for the show, because I'd love to be able to, especially in this election year, give you the behind-the-scenes take as what's happening. Now, I had fully intended to spend the entire hour talking about the State of the Union, the media reaction, the Democrats' reaction. I will get to that in a minute, because I believe that the entire election is predicated on the economy, where it is in the spring and the summer before people vote. And Steve Moore, another great part of the WABC family, will be joining me to give me his take, because this is crucial. But obviously some big breaking news. What's going on in Iran? What does that mean for us? And so I want to spend the next little bit giving you some insight into that. I am honored to be joined by a former shipmate of mine in the Navy, a former DOD spokesman in his civilian capacity, Morgan Murphy. Morgan, are you there?
I am there, Sean. Good to be with you, shipmate.
Yeah, thank you for kicking off today's show with us. Let me just say this: you in the first Trump administration were there at the podium. This would have been you explaining to the American people what's going on. So let me ask you just to reprise your role. You have to get out there today and tell us what the status is of what's going on in Iran, and what's your response.
Countries that are uncomfortable with aggression have to get used to humiliation. And we saw that with Biden. This country suffered one humiliation after another because he could not find the intestinal fortitude to stand up to America's enemies. And in President Trump, when he says, thank you for your attention to this matter, watch out. When he says it, I do not know why leaders around the world don't believe him when he issues an ultimatum, because he has a clear track record, as you know, of following through. Now, he took out in Khomeini one of the longest serving enemies of the United States. The Ayatollah had been in that position since 1989, threatened America through proxies. He took the lives of many Americans. He took the limbs of many Americans. You're a veteran of Afghanistan. You know just how many of our soldiers are missing their legs today because of Iran and its malevolent influence in Afghanistan, its funding of roadside bombs there. And Khomeini is one of the hardest hardliners in the Middle East, and I think that taking him out presents a wonderful new opportunity for the region. Presidents for years have talked about pivoting to Asia. Obama famously said, we're going to pivot to Asia. Well, you can't just pivot somewhere and abandon your friends and your allies and your interests in a region. President Trump is cleaning it up, and then we're going to pivot.
All right, Morgan, let's little role play. So again, we're speaking to Morgan Murphy, Navy captain and former DOD. And I say DOD, no, don't think I don't get the joke. Everyone's going to say, Sean, it's Department of War. When you were there, it was the Department of Defense.
Well, actually, it was Kash Patel was one of my bosses there, and Kash was signing all of his emails Department of War, and I loved it. I told him at the time, I said, we need to change the whole name. This department hasn't done squat since we changed the name to Department of Defense in 1948. We need to change it back to the Department of War.
I will just say this. I have a new book coming out called Trump 2.0, where I literally talk about the people and the policies, and this is why I wrote it, is to explain why the foreshadowing of Trump 1.0 matters in 2.0. But I digress, Morgan. So let me ask you, there's two sort of big questions on my mind. I think today a lot of Americans are saying, okay, so where are we? Have we decapitated the Iranian capabilities? The president very clearly saying that they were a threat. The question I think a lot of Americans, okay, did we end that threat? Yes or no?
Not yet. We will see.
Okay,
the
why?
IRGC.
What else?
Well, there's still leaders there, and the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, is really the mechanics by which the country holds together. So they've appointed a new commander in chief. Is rumored there's a new commander, Ahmad Vadali, who is.
I thought it was Marco Rubio. I figured it was Marco Rubio.
It probably will be. Yes, and the Ayatollah is now able to vote in the midterm elections as a Democrat. But he's got Ahmad Vadi is the new commander in chief of the IRGC, and he's one of the worst. He's wanted by Interpol for a bombing of a Jewish community center in Buenos Aires in 1994. He is a hardliner, the hardest of hardliners. So I would expect, Sean, that we will be spending the next few weeks in conjunction with Israel and their exquisite intelligence from Mossad of taking out these people until there is room for an uprising in Iran.
Okay, so the big concern that I think a lot of people had, the vice president himself sort of making this point on a Washington Post reporter on his trip back the other day from an event, saying we're not getting into a protracted war, right? And I get a kick out of these Democrats this morning on the Sunday shows, the War Powers Act. I'm like, there's not a boot on the ground, right? This is all air power. The question is, so what are we looking at here? A week, 5 days, 2 weeks? Like what, just generally speaking, it seems to me that this is being conducted by the U.S. Navy from the Strait of Hormuz, north and south, and then going. So, like, what does it the next few days look like?
Well, I think we're going to see an intense bombing campaign continue. We've eliminated their air defenses. It really is now United States airspace, Israeli airspace over Iran. We've got dominance and air superiority. So we can hit targets of our time and choosing, and I think that we're going to see some very select targets. Iran is still shooting back, so they've fired off 300 missiles in response. They've ticked off, 5 different countries around the Gulf states there, countries that might have remained neutral or even been sympathetic to their cause are now hostile to Iran. I mean, top of that list is Saudi Arabia, Jordan, the UAE. So Iran is not making its case internationally well at all. You don't hear any voices, with maybe save for Russia, coming to Iran's defense. So I'd see the next few weeks one where we're hopefully going to see some uprising. I mean, we saw thousands and hundreds of thousands of Iranians out on the street over the past 60 days protesting. Reported 30,000 were killed by this regime. So the mood is there. It is not with the regime. It will just take some time, and they don't have the media resources that they can't listen to Sean Spicer. So it'll take some time for that word to spread that they won't immediately be put down if they take to the streets again.
Well, I was going to say, it seems to me from the videos that I've seen, both obviously in the U.S., which are not as important from their standpoint, but it sounds like the Iranians, I mean, they were chanting in these videos that they were excited about the Ayatollah's death. Like, they seem to be excited, right? Is there a chance these guys rise up? I mean, 37 years of the Ayatollah? This is a new dynamic for an entire generation.
47 years, since 1979. I mean, and let's not forget, I think the problem is, I know you wanted to talk about the State of the Union and politics here. There's a big problem with politics as it relates to the Republican Party and Iran. There is a young group of Republicans who see us acting as simply a proxy to Israel. And they say, oh, you're just a puppet of Israel. You're being controlled by Mossad. And here's Trump just going in and doing Israel's bidding. Nothing could be further from the truth. 1979, this regime started by taking American hostages for 400 some odd days. They took 52 American hostages there in Tehran and kept them. I remember being in second grade and watching and praying for the hostages to come home. And then in 1983, Iran bombed, the 241 Marines and the Beirut bombing there that killed so many of our fellow Navy shipmates. They'd hate that we called them that, but that was never really avenged properly. And it goes on and on through the years, Iran up to October the 7th, attacking Israel. They have been at war with the United States and our allies since the very inception, and been chanting death to America, calling us the great Satan. They were developing nuclear weapons to be able to threaten our homeland and the ballistic missiles capable of carrying them here. So Trump is the first president, and 7 presidents have dealt with this regime, but Trump is the first one to take them out.
You know, Morgan, it's so funny you mentioned that, because I love the fact that politicians, and frankly, let's be clear, on both sides, love to say that they're going to do stuff. We're going to hold the rest of the world accountable. We're going to, on tariffs, for example, we're going to create a level playing field for our manufacturers, our service providers, our agricultural exporters. They talk a good game. What people get so pissed, you know why? Because Trump actually keeps his word. He does what everyone said they should do. So
you're absolutely right. He said he was going to move the embassy, the U.S. Every president has vowed to move the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem. And he does it.
I get a kick. The hit against Trump is, what do you mean you kept your word? That's not what politicians do. And this is another example. I've been watching clip after clip on the internet where all of these people on the left are like, we need regime change in Iran. Iran poses an existential threat to the United States. And then this morning, it's like, we are calling on President Trump to be accountable to the Congress. And I'm like, you knucklehead. He literally did what every one of you said that should be done. It's that you're pissed that he actually did what your leaders, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, et cetera, didn't do.
They never let facts get in the way of a good story. So Congress has given the president, he authorized the use of military force back in 2001, and we're still operating under that AUMF. They tried to repeal it in 2023, and it only got 4 votes in the Senate. So he does have the authorized use of military force there. He's completely within his rights as president to have launched this attack. And you're absolutely right. People just cannot stand that he follows through. And I worked at the State Department. You've been around all these buffoons, and they cannot stand that a real estate developer from New York who doesn't have a Harvard PhD in international politics has policies that actually work. His policies, he's an empiricist. The president does what works. And he has gotten amazing traction around the world doing what works.
I want to get 2 more things done because our time is getting tight. I mentioned the Strait of Hormuz at the beginning. There is a concern, and I think it's mostly the media, of oil prices could spike if Iran tries to choke commercial traffic, specifically, let's be honest, oil, through the Strait of Hormuz. Is that a valid concern, in your opinion, based on the sizable Navy presence we have there?
Well, yes. The strait is difficult. It's very narrow, and shipping right now it's stopped. So insuring a ship right now is difficult. Mertz just told all their vessels to stay in place, shelter in place at the moment. 20 million barrels of oil go through that strait every day. So it is a vital sea lane that will need to stay open, and Iran can threaten it right now. We just sunk another Iranian ship. So I feel confident that the U.S. Navy is going to open that sucker up. It won't be closed for long because the president knows, he's a businessman first and foremost. He knows the importance of keeping commerce rolling. And that's, I think, why we saw the timing as we did on a Saturday morning, so it could give the markets time to adjust to that. But the president is playing 3D chess here with oil, taking Venezuela, taking Iran off the table, trying to come to peace with Russia.
Morgan, I don't mean to interrupt you, but time is tight.
Yeah.
Let me just ask you this, though. Let's bring this home. If you're sitting here right now in the United States listening to WABC and all throughout the world based on the number of people who listen to this, there's a lot of retaliatory strikes that we've seen come off of Iran. Should we be worried in the United States about a threat from Iran?
Yes. I think everyone should be worried about Iran. Iran posed a credible threat to the U.S. Again, we've had 20 million people come into this country illegally in the past 4 years under Biden. We don't know who they were. They were 4,000 Chinese fighting age men that came in. Certainly a lot of Iranians who came in. So I don't underestimate the threat of Iran. It's a nation of 90 million people that can certainly pose a threat. And that doesn't say that Americans should, be fearful. As I said at the beginning, like those who live in fear are going to live in humiliation. So the president's taken a bold step, and we as Americans need to support him because this is a longtime enemy of our nation.
Real quick, I unfortunately have to end on a sour note. We are getting breaking news from Reuters right now saying 3 U.S. service members have died. I know you understand this more than most, just the threat that people face or the service. So thank you for your service. Thanks for coming on this morning. I really appreciate it.
You too, Captain Spicer. Great to chat with you.
You bet. All right, guys, look, we'll be back. I wanted to give you the insight on that on this first show of Full Court Press. But you know what? We've got Steve Moore coming on. We're going to move over to politics, figure out what we need to do. Thanks for being with us on this initial kickoff edition of Full Court Press with Sean Spicer. I'm your host. I'll be right back.
At Manhattan University, a graduate degree is not out of reach. You'll gain real-world skills, credentials employers value, and connections to New York City's top companies. Choose from their new Master of Science degrees in healthcare informatics, digital marketing and analytics, business analytics, or financial analytics, all built around hands-on learning and industry partnerships. Graduate ready to lead, not just work. Take the next step at manhattan.edu/graduate. Manhattan University. Lead the future.